So what I've done is I've gone to the internet and I've collected a list of names. You'll see the names over here in column A. And I'm going to format these. So I'm going to basically normalize this data using some of the tools that are in Excel. You'll notice right now we have numeric values, first name, last name. We could have extra spacing between the names. Sometimes we have extra spacing before the names. Sometimes we have extra spacing after the names. But at the end of the day, what I really want this list to look like is first name, last name. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get rid of these numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Control, Shift, and End, and I'm going to select my entire list of names. And then I'm going to click on my Data tab, and I'm going to click on Text to Columns. I'm going to choose Delimited. If I use Fixed Width, I'd have to tell it to split it 2, and then when I got to 10, it wouldn't work. But by using Delimited, I'm going to be able to tell it to split it a character. So when you come to this screen, you're going to see your delimiter is set to tab by default. We're going to go ahead and turn that off, and I'm going to go down here to Other, and I'm going to choose what character to split on. And you have a data preview down here that shows you your data. As I add the period, which is what I'm going to split on, you'll see that it has put that division or the divider line right there. So what we're going to end up with is a column of numbers and a column of names. So I'm going to hit Finish, and we get exactly what we expected. We have a column of numbers and a column of poorly formatted names right over here. Now in column A is no longer needed, so I'm just going to highlight that, right-click it, and delete it, moving my names back into column A. The next thing that I need to do is I need to get rid of this extra spacing either before or between names. So I'm going to use a formula. That formula is trim, T-R-I-M. So it's equal trim, open parenthesis, just going to click on A1, close that up, and hit enter. And what I see now is I have Rose Farley with a single space. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that for the rest of my list, so I'm just going to drag this down to the bottom of my list, and what I end up with now is a properly formatted list. So my leading spaces are gone, between the name spaces are gone, my end spaces are gone, and that's all done with this formula trim. Now the issue is when I come through and I start looking at this data, you'll see that these are all formulas. Well, I need to be able to work with the actual data. So again, I'm going to click on B1, and I'm going to do Shift Control End, and I'm going to copy this data, Control C, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste. And when I paste, I want to select the values because I'm not copying the formulas, I want to copy the values. And this is going to give you 3 different representations of the data. The first is our original list. These are values, but they're poorly formatted. They have the extra spacing. In column B, we have the formulas. And what happens is if I accidentally delete column A, then column B also disappears. So I don't want to really work with the formulas in this case. And in column C, I actually have my properly formatted names. So what I end up with is 3 columns, column C being the column I want to keep. I'm going to select column A, I'm going to select column B, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go ahead and delete those. So what I end up with now is column A with my properly formatted names. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select all of this data again. So I've selected all of this data. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the first and last name. So I've selected my data. I'm going to click on Text to Columns, Delimited once again. I'm going to hit Next. This time, rather than splitting on the period, I'm going to split on the space. And when we click space, you can see it's going to show you exactly where it's going to split that data. And I'm going to hit Finish. And I end up with first name in A and last name in B. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert a row up here. I'm going to add headers to this. First, last, right? And I'm going to make both of these bold. Okay, that way I know that they're headers. Now there's another problem with this list. And the problem is I have duplicate names in the list and I don't want any duplicates. So I can very quickly see where my duplicates are at, right? So I go to Home, Conditional Formatting. I'm going to go to Highlight Cell Rules, and I'm going to tell it to highlight any duplicate values. And I'm just going to hit OK. Now I can see that I have duplicate names at the end. I have some in the middle. I also see that I have duplicate names that are just last names. Well, I don't want my list to have any duplicates. So again, I'm highlighting all of my data. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Data, and I'm going to click on this Remove Duplicate Options, which is going to remove my duplicates. So remove duplicates, you'll notice that my data has headers first and last. By having both of these turned on, it's only going to remove rows where both the first and last name are duplicated. If I click this, it would remove any row where the first name was duplicated, but we want both of these turned on. We hit OK, and we're going to remove 6 duplicate values, leaving us with 40 unique values. And we're still going to see that we have some red, right? Because Colin Lindsay and Gerald Lindsay both have the last name of Lindsay, but it's not an actual name duplicate. We've removed all of our true name duplicates. So I'm going to go back to Home. I'm going to go back to Conditional Formatting, and I'm going to clear the rules. And what we have now is an entire list of 40 names, right? 40 names with headers, first and last name, no additional spacing, and we got rid of the numbers. So we took a non-formatted list and made it into a formatted list that could be used for multiple purposes.